Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. I want to tell you a little story. When I started photography 15 years ago, I was a really horrible photographer. First of all, it took me a full year to figure out how to get a sharp photo, with a tripod at night. And when I finally figured it out, I remember I went on a quest of shooting Paris by night. What I did is I went up through the Seine River, which is the main river in Paris, and I started around evening, sunset, and all the way up to 2 o'clock in the morning, I started taking photos of Paris by night. Most of the photo was very sharp, and I was really proud. It was like the first time I captured the beauty of Paris by night. So I went home and I started retouching all my photos, and the next morning, the agency I was working in had a very famous photographer, so I went to see him, and I said, look, I'm so happy, I took photos of Paris by night, and I started showing him the photos, and I could tell there was something wrong, like he didn't really like them. And I was like, but what's wrong? And he looked at me, he says, well, all your skies are black. There's like no details, nothing. And he started showing me photos of Riyadh, which is like beautiful houses in Marrakesh, Morocco. And they were beautiful blue hour, golden hour, sunset. And I was like, yeah, but if I had to get a sunset or a blue hour, I would have only shot like maybe 2 or 3 photos. I shot 80 photos, And then he looked at me and he said something that changed my life forever. He looked at me straight in the eyes and he said, welcome to the world of photography. And that blew my mind. I was like, okay, so the quest is, let's go get real sunset, let's go get some real blue hour. And I started doing that, and my first photo was horrible. This is some of my first sunset, blue hour, golden hour. They look like nothing. So after years of practice, I figured out a good way and I started getting some good photos. And in this video, I want to give you 10 tricks, starting from the least important to the most important on shooting cities. Things I've learned that can maybe help you take better photos of cities while you're traveling or if you live in a nice city. So here we are. Use leading lines. Leading lines are amazing to give depth to your photography. The problem, especially in cities, when you take something and you're like very flat, with a building in front and you're parallel to it, there's not much depth. It's really cool to have some depth. And using roads and streets and little dirt roads is a great way to create depth in your photography. Use rule of third. Rule of third is really important because you can place the most interesting subject on a side of your photo and it's going to make it more dynamic, it's going to make it more interesting. Rule of third really helps your composition. Underexposed bad weather. Bad weather can make amazing black and white. And if you underexpose it, you're going to get all the details of the skies, dramatic skies. And you turn it into a black and white, you use some of my presets, and you have a killer photography. Foreground, middle ground, background. You see, the thing that I spend the most time when I do Cityscape is finding the right foreground element. It could be a statue, it can be some people walking, it can be, a little stairs. Whatever it is that's going to give more depth to your photo, it's going to tell a better story. Anybody can take a photo of the Louvre or Notre Dame at night, with a great sunset, but you need to have a good foreground. Foreground is going to make the difference between your professional photo or the everybody's photo, the thousands of tourists taking photos out there. So look for these foreground elements and it's going to make your photo stick out of cities. Play with long exposure to erase people. Long exposures is going to make that anything move disappear. I have been able to get this shot, for example, of the Musée d'Orsay, right at sunset. It was loaded with people, but the long exposure erased everybody. Same thing with this photo of Notre Dame. So don't hesitate, close your shutter, put an ND filter on, put on a tripod, and erase all these people in a very natural way. Try to not get a whole bunch of tourists in your shot. And that's really tricky because the nicest cities in the world are full of tourists. So there's different trick. One, you can go high vintage view. That's always really cool, find places to shoot from high because then the tourists are very small and it does not distract so much the eyes of the viewer. Or use super long exposure to erase everybody. Or just use water if you have like a river, like the Seine River, Thames, the Hudson or whatever. Use it as a foreground element so that you can see the city and you don't have people in the shot, because a lot of tourists will distract from the beauty of the city. Use Instagram or Google Images to prepare your shots. For example, I just did a book on Barcelona and I've never been to Barcelona. So I use Google Images, I Google like best photography spots in the city. I go on Instagram, I look for keywords, and I make collections on Instagram of my favorite shots that I see, favorite composition. It's great for inspiration, so you don't waste time when you are, not so long in a city. You know where to go, you know the composition that works. It's great for inspiration. Try to shoot at the right time of the day. That was the introduction of this video and the major, epiphany that I had when I started photography, which is I only work golden hour, an hour before sunset. That's the golden hour. Right at sunset, which is usually about half an hour, then half an hour the blue hour, and usually that's about it. And shooting in that time is really the best. We can also do sunrise, but I'll go into more details on that. The 15 minutes magic moment. What is that? Well, in every city, when the city lights turn on, for the next 15 minutes, this is the best time to take some of the photos, because what happens is that it's not the night yet, it's not dark yet, it's the blue hour, but the whole city is light up. And usually this is when I take most of the photos and I stop after. It is the blue hour, but it is a special kind of Cityscape's blue hour, and you should watch for it. You will love it. Shoot at sunrise. Probably in the last 15 years, the best photos that I got was at sunrise. Why? Because in big cities, at sunrise, you have a lot less people, you often have a good light, and it's just awesome. Also, if you go to Paris like me, and you see the Seine River is very flat in the morning, and you can get some really interesting mirror effect that's only available very early in the morning. So sunrise is probably your best bet to get the most incredible cityscapes. One more thing, check out this playlist that I prepared for you. It's some of my best videos that I've ever done. Subscribe to my channel, leave me a little like or a comment, and watch this playlist. It can change your life as a photographer right now.